Hello everyone, I'm Father Diego, and this is the message of the Gospel for today, Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, March the 18th, and we'll listen from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 17 to 19. At that time, Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. Amen, I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or the smallest part of a letter will pass from the law, until all things have taken place. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do so will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever obeys and teaches these commandments will be called greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Well, just 3 verses, and we have a lot in these 3 verses. Last week, I was talking to my sister Diana about the meaning of the gospel and so on, and she said the Old Testament should be banned to read without the New Testament. And I think she's right. We cannot understand the Old Testament without the New Testament. And in the same way, we cannot understand the New Testament without the Old Testament. It is exactly what we have here in this particular section of chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mountain, in which Jesus, again, is laying the foundations of the kingdom of heaven. But here we have what the Christian community thinks about them, who they are, and what is this message coming from, right? So Jesus, or the message of Jesus, is not a breaking off or a rupture from the Jewish traditions, but on the contrary, a fulfillment of them. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. And what is this message? What is this gospel fulfilling of? Well, exactly the promises of God in the kingdom, in the Old Testament, the coming of God's kingdom, the sovereignty of this God among us, and particularly, the revelation of God as Father, His mercy, His compassion, and His salvation. We cannot understand that without going back to the Old Testament. What this gospel, these very verses are saying is that the teaching of Jesus is linked to all the tradition of the Jewish people compiled in the Old Testament, the best of that tradition that reflects the true nature and the identity of God. So we better pay attention to the Old Testament, and we better read the Old Testament with the New Testament, with the light of the revelation of Jesus, to understand the newness of this message. All right. Before to say goodbye, I want to clear something. I was falsely accused that my coffee was fake, that this cup has nothing inside. Let me show you. Yes, there is still coffee here, but because I'm drinking coffee, the cup is not fulfilled. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow with the message of the gospel. Cheers. Bye now. A final note on this time of pandemic and coronavirus and fear and so on and so on. Remember that we are not praying for the end of the wrath of God. This is not a punishment from God. We don't believe that. But we are praying for the welfare of all those who are sick and of all those who are taking care of them. And we are praying that the heart of those who are well be open and share what they have, especially to all those who are struggling to keep going in the midst of this quarantine and pandemic and fear and all this stuff, right? We are praying for an open heart, for solidarity in this time of pandemic.